Jalaluddin Rumi spoke these poems 700 years ago, spontaneously in Persian. And the work there was the work of opening the heart and exploring the mystery that they called union. And they used poetry and music always together. One night, a man was crying, Allah, Allah. His lips grew sweet with the praising until a cynic said, "So, I have heard you calling out, but have you ever gotten any response?" The man had no answer for that. He quit praying and fell into a confused sleep where he dreamed he saw Hitter, the guide of souls, in a thick green foliage. Why did you stop praising? Why did you stop praising? Because I never heard anything back. This longing you express is the return message. The grief you cry out from draws you toward union. Your pure sadness that wants help is the secret cup. Listen to the moan of a dog for its master. That whining is the connection. There are love dogs no one knows the names of. Give your life to be one of them. One night a man was crying. One night a woman was crying, Allah, Allah, Allah. Robert Bly says that Rumi is a way that Americans can love Islam. Don't you love that? So. Another mystery that they explored was what they called the friend or the beloved, that inner, outer presence that we can't say much about. Sometimes Rumi addresses it directly. And there's a pronoun in Persian that means I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they, and God. And we don't have that in American English. So I have to use the heartbreaking, poignant second person, singular and plural, you. It's pretty good, isn't it? You. So Rumi feels that presence in the weather sometimes, just in being outdoors. And so here's one where he addresses that presence directly. When it's cold and raining, you are more beautiful. And the snow brings me even closer to your lips. The inner secret, that which was never born, You are that freshness, and I am with you now. I can't explain the goings or the comings. You enter suddenly, and I am nowhere again. Inside the majesty, the inner secret, that which was never born, you are that freshness, and I am with you now. I can't explain the goings or the comings. You enter suddenly, and I am nowhere again. Inside the majesty, what was in that candle's light that opened and consumed me so quickly? Come back, my friend. The form of our love is not a created form. Nothing can help me but that beauty. There was a dawn, I remember, when my soul heard something from your soul. I drank water from your spring and felt the current take me. The conversation at the end of that poem was important to the Sufis. They say there are three ways of approaching the divine. There's prayer, and a step up from that is meditation, the centering. And a step up from that is what they call sobet, or conversation, a kind of inner call and response. Well, actually, one of Rumi's metaphors for the human psyche is that it is a conversation between a lot of different elements. They might have talked about breathing and laughing and singing and walking and eating and looking up words in the dictionary and playing tag. But they concentrate on those three: prayer, meditation, and conversation. In this next poem, he talks about the consequences of that conversation, which are crucial: eloquence, modesty, generosity, handsomeness, strength, and that quality that is implied in the opening of the rose. I'll surely find another. A little Irish doesn't hurt, does it? Blooming heather. There you go, lassie, go. That's not part of Rumi's poem. Oh, hey, oh, oh, oh. There you go, lassie, go. What was said to the rose that made it open was said to me here in my chest. What was told the cypress that made it strong and straight What was whispered the jasmine, so it is what it is. Whatever made sugarcane sweet, whatever was said to the inhabitants of the town of Chigil in Turkestan that makes them so handsome. Whatever lets the pomegranate flower blush like a human face, that is being said to me now. I blush. Whatever put eloquence in language, that's happening here. I love it when a poet could say that. Whatever put eloquence in language, that's happening right now, right here. The great warehouse doors open, and I fill with gratitude, chewing a piece of sugar cane, in love with the one to whom every that belongs. What was said to the rose that made it open was said to me here in my chest. What was told the cypress that made it strong and straight. What was whispered the jasmine, so it is what it is. Whatever lets the pomegranate flower blush like a human face, that is being said to me now. I blush. Whatever put eloquence in language, that's happening here. The great warehouse doors open, and I fill with gratitude, chewing a piece of sugar cane. I'm going to break up the mystical wisdom by reading a couple of my own poems. You'll see the difference immediately. I am a card-carrying member of the American Gourd Society, Mount Gilead, Ohio, and I subscribe to the Gourd. You subscribe a publication that will just break your heart. Here's Mrs. Wilma Hilda Gruber in her side yard holding the dolphin gourd she grew there. You know, and they all line up and they just hold their gourds. And it just, people can love anything. And I love gourds myself. I grow them in a little meadow beside my cabin in Fannin County, Georgia, near Blue Ridge, Georgia. And they say several things about gourds around there. They say it takes a fool to grow a gourd. and then they say you got to hard cuss gourd seed before you put them in the ground, just to get their attention. So here's my attempt to create a new holiday. It's called Gourd Day. About gourds, one thing they say in Blue Ridge is, it takes a fool to grow a gourd. And they notice how I always get a good crop. The other thing they say is that you have to hard cuss gourd seed as you put them in the ground to get their attention before they'll even consider coming up. Gourds are stubborn. In the mystical poetry of Jalaluddin Rumi, gourds are a metaphor for human beings and their rattling speech. If we make our noises against enclosure long and hard enough, we'll break out and have some chance to germinate. This is the process. Planted in mid-May, a gourd vine becomes a wildly growing thing through July. I have clocked one tendril on a wet and sunny summer afternoon at 1.5 inches every 2 hours. The entire vine grows 7 yards a week. At least in Georgia they do. Of the kinds I know, one flower's white, opening in the evening, the other yellow, opening in the morning. Where the flowers drop off, fruit nubs appear and swell and streak and fill with rain. In the middle of September, you bring these heavy young'uns in and lay them side by side on newspapers on the daybed where they can rot. When they get good and mildew black with fur, you take them to the picnic table and wash them in white vinegar, scraping off the scum with your fingernails, leaving designs. After another month, they'll fuzz up again. Take them back to the table with the vinegar and hold and wash and caress them like babies. Then do it again. You'll have dirty fingernails and hands that smell vinegary and some fine hard-shell gourds. People, of course, make Martin houses and some soup ladles and fancy African instruments out of gourds. Some friends brought me a Balinese penis sheath. That's a long-handled dipper gourd, cut off where the handle part enters the womb cavity. Me. I shake them to loosen the seeds from the clump inside and give them away whole on Gourd Day. Why can't a person make up a holiday and a way to celebrate it? It's December 17th. Around sunset, with the sky deep winter red, that I secretly tie gourds to my friends' door knockers and message nails. They call me the Gourd Fairy. No cards or words go with them. Shelled in, foolish, and hard to get started. Gourds don't mean anything. So I asked around in the hardware stores in Blue Ridge, did anybody know a hard cuss for gourd seed? And they didn't. So I had to make one up. This is how it goes. You have to imagine me in my little meadow in mid-May with a sack of gourd seed that I've sent off for from Ohio or Alabama or Oklahoma or somewhere. And I take them out one at a time and I talk to them. And then I put them in the ground. I don't have the cello with me though, but I should. Yeah. Out the sack and in the hand, little dry nothing bird turd. Him just lay here thinking, I'm a big fucking man. You're a stupid rotten tooth. Be like your daddy, little Peter in the wind. I spit and thumb you in and hump once to make you jump. Bump up, jumpkin' bumpkin. You got this one some bitchin' chance to be a gourd or feed for ants. Out to, it's so good I'll read it again. Out to sack it in the hand. Little dry nothing bird turd. Him just lay here thinking, I'm a big fucking man. You're a stupid rotten tooth. They look like rotten teeth. Be like your daddy, little Peter in the wind. I spit and thumb you in and hump once to make you jump. Bump up, jumpkin' bumpkin. You got this one some bitchin' chance to be a gourd or feed for ants. All right. All right. Now we're going back to mystical wisdom. Careening wildly back and forth. Yeah. Another subject that would come up in Rumi's is the nature of the soul. Let's see. I got Cello Man Blues.
I'm going to try something else.
Okay. He cannot be advised on these matters. What is the soul? Consciousness. The more awareness, the deeper the soul. And when such essence overflows, you feel a sacredness around. It is so simple to tell one who puts on a robe and pretends to be a dervish from the real thing. We know the taste of pure water. We do know the taste of pure water. Words can sound like a poem, but not have any juice, no flavor to relish. How long do you look at pictures on a bathhouse wall? Soul is what draws you away from those pictures. To talk with the old woman who sits outside by the door in the sun. She's half blind, but she has what soul loves to flow into. She's kind. She weeps. She makes quick, personal decisions. And she laughs so easily. Soul is what draws you away from those pictures that dilute your longing. Call it television. Soul is what draws you away from those pictures. To go and talk with the old woman who sits outside by the door in the sun. She's half blind, but she has what soul loves to flow into. She's kind. She weeps. She makes quick personal decisions. I don't know what that means, but it's true, isn't it? She just doesn't care. She just makes, give me 4 of those. Give me 4. She makes quick personal decisions. I'm sorry. And she laughs so easily. Anyway. Without a net, I catch a falcon and release it to the sky, hunting the mystery of the friend. The wine I drank today was never held in a clay jar. I love this world. Even as I hear the great wind of leaving it rising, I love this world. even as I hear the great wind of leaving it rising. For there is a grainy taste I prefer to every idea of heaven, human friendship. There is a grainy taste of bread I prefer to every idea of heaven, human friendship. One of the forms that the beloved has taken in my life, if a beloved can take any form, is my grandchildren. And I have begun to write shamelessly doting poetry, sometimes just taking dictation from what they say. And I'm going to now read you some of those. One of the things we do every fall is I live in Athens, Georgia, and we go over to Marietta, Georgia, to the Shrine Circus. And maybe you don't know what shrine circuses are. Anyway, the Shriners put on these circuses where the performers are aging and inept, and they do tricks that endanger themselves and others. And so we went, and this one was so low budge that it didn't even have a finale. You know, somebody just took the microphone and said, that's it for the Shrine Circus. Let's hear it. Yeah. And so this poem is called No Finale. If I were dying, or if I were convinced I were dying soon, say within a year, if I were told so by doctors, I would write a bunch of poems out of my nervousness and my love for being here. They would be what I saw on walks and times I would spend on the phone with my granddaughter, remembering when we went to the Shrine Circus and Julio tried the triple and missed. And there was no finale. They just announced, when we all expected there to be something else, at least a parade of clowns and elephants and jungle ladies riding by. Thank you for coming, folks. Let's hear it for the Shrine Circus. But we have more than memories. We have Polaroids. Bryony took them of brightly lit jugglers and the little girl acrobat. She'd look through the camera hole and then look up and snap it. But when she looked up, the camera would tilt a little down. So we have a number of photographs of circus dirt with part of a spotlight circle at the top. One time I was going to pick her up at a soccer game. It was one of these kids' soccer games that sort of gets out of hand. And they were losing bad. And I have this old 72 Dodge chop top convertible. And I picked her up in that, and she, this is what happened. In the glory of the gloaming green soccer field, her team, the Gladiators, is losing 10-0. She never loses interest. In the roughhouse one-on-one that comes every half a minute, she sticks her leg in danger and comes out the other side running. Later, A clump of opponents on the street is chanting, "We won, we won, we won." She stands up on the convertible seat, holding to the windshield. We lost, big time, 10-0. We lost, we lost, we lost. Fist pumping air. The other team quiet, abashed, chastened. Good losers don't laugh last. They laugh continuously. All the way home, so glad. This is that same brilliant child. We were riding around in that same convertible. It's opening day of football season in Athens, Georgia, which is sort of a sacred day. And this is called an opening game day traffic. She explains tackle football. And the rest of this is just what she said. She explains tackle football. You pass the ball between your legs, you go hurt somebody, then you start over. You pass the ball between your legs, you go hurt somebody, then you start over. When everybody is hurt, the game ends because the people in the stands don't want to get hurt. They just like to see others. Two-hand touch is better. I think she just nailed our whole culture to the floor. Yeah. She and I had an organization for a time. We call it Club, and it meets every Monday night, and this is it about that. Some Monday nights we meet after supper. No moms or dads allowed. I'm grandfathered in. The only organization I'm part of, no nation, no religion, no academic business anymore. We do science experiments, like walking around the block to check on Hale Bop. She wears special shoes, genie silk numbers that turn up at the toe. She invents people that live in houses we pass. Teacher Jane, with lights on her arbor, she has funny hair, green. Uh-oh, here comes a broken milk of magnesia bottle. It's the blue swamp. I'll carry you across. One night we met at the new house they'll soon be moving to. She takes me upstairs to show which room will be hers. Empty, except for a metal office desk. Students have been renting the house. She opens a side drawer and tears off a piece from the adding machine roll. This is your permanent ticket to Club. I never had a permanent ticket before. I put it in my pocket, and later, while we're drawing pictures, notice that it has monkishly careful writing on it, tiny calligraphy. Amazingly, of the first 3.5 poems of Rumi's bird song. Somebody copied out the entire book on that roll. I do not pretend to know what's going on, but I was there remembered into a body, a flock. When Bryony reached in like a little bird and handed me my permanently torn ticket stub to Club. Not to neglect Tuck, her brother. Tuck has now moved on from T-ball to where you actually get balls thrown at you, you know, and you call balls and strikes, and that's a big step. And he got a new coach, one of these Southern Marine types, who doesn't just coach, he like secures the area. You know, he takes charge of the hot dog stand and the fathers and everything. Damn. So this is about Tuck's coach. Tuck is 7. He has a new baseball coach, big guy, who makes it clear at the first practice that the fathers along the fence are not to yell things to their sons. This is different. And the sons are to keep quiet and listen while he is talking. The punishment is take a lap, run a lap. This is important stuff. This is human life. We're going to keep score and give it everything we have. Not like T-ball last year. No calling balls and strikes, no keeping score. That was just silly. Tuck runs up to him later, says, "Can I run a lap?" Coach turns his face away. "Not yet. Not yet." Now, Bryony is now 16, so this is a little different situation here. This is called the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Well, it's self-explanatory, I guess. Granddaddy, can I use the clubhouse to have a mini pre-Thanksgiving dinner with my friends on Tuesday night? If you promise to do some dancing, that place needs some dancing. I can promise that. So 16 of her friends have a potluck giving of thanks. They write me a large, decorated with multicolored Sharpies, poster-sized thank you note. I think my son Benjamin, Bryony's dad, is going to look in on them. It turns out he thinks someone else will look in and be the part-time chaperone, but no one does. They have the place to themselves, however many hours that went on. It is all cleaned up perfectly when I next go in. Just one thing off kilter. The 2 big nautical stripes on the navy blue comfort on the California king-size Tempur-Pedic downstairs. Those stripes are going north-south instead of east-west, horizontal instead of vertical. I asked Bryony. She says, "Oh, we all piled up in that bed under the covers to watch TV." 17, 16-year-olds, supinely ranged along their lumberous lengths like 4x4s under the canvas at Armstrong Dobbs. Once they do that, folks, there's hardly any going back to the dance floor. She has no shame about telling me, nor should she. God, I love that girl. I feel like we should talk a little more. So I devised this writers club exercise. We don't have club, we have writers club. We meet at a table in my coffee house. We switch roles. She is the grandfather who has given his inner beauty salon, his odd scriptorium, to her for the evening. I am the brilliant young woman, indigo bunting, bringing in the next unimaginable glory. We write pages of dialogue for 30 minutes. You are having more fun than me, Granddaddy, she says finally. I know. I suggest she begin, well, traditionally, but she's having none of that. She begins. I know you kids like to watch the racy television. I begin. What are you afraid of, grandfather dear? Some legal liability? You don't want your sacred space turned into an unsupervised teen sexual experimentation lab? A black hole for erotic trancing? A pollinaceous pile that moves without volition? Is there a subterranean creepy crawly in your unconscious? Grandfuddy darling, is that it? Well, shoot. This is all beyond my experience, she answers with my mouth. We had hay rides, but that was mostly singing Lost and Gone Forever Clementine. We weren't allowed much touch, so it became very charged, charged. I understand. Henry James in The Unlived Life, The Beast in the Jungle. I say, as her. You've read that? She screams as me. I can't make it through the first page, but my English teachers like to talk about it. Advanced placement, don't you know? I confess as her. But listen, Granddaddy, seriously. Pearl Harbor is next weekend, and the clubhouse is so perfect. The junior class history club, we want to honor the war dead by filming a kind of documentary, combination old-time swimming hole and the sunken battleship Arizona. Saturday Evening Post 1943. We can make the clubhouse basement watertight, tape it up, flood it with the garden hose. The school has cameras that work with lights underwater. Nighttime skinny dipping, yay. The guys will play the actual sailors come back to life floating up young and naked. They're still down there, in the Arizona. Voiceovers already written. Faculty sponsors. What do you say? She responds immediately as me. Heck, why not? I'll be gone the next 2 weeks. The less I know, the better. You may need some pool supplies and brushes for the cleanup. Charge them to my account. Be sure the power's off. Walby knows all that. Where's the fuse box? In the closet by the water heater. Might need to cut it off at the pole. Bye, sweetheart. Bye, Granddaddy. You are so amazing. Rumi is mostly known by those poems that are drenched with the beloved. They're very sweet. But he has other modalities. And here are 4 poems in another mood. He says, sometimes I like to put a little vinegar with the honey, a little scolding with the love to make the ecstasy more familiar. So, my dad used to take a tablespoon of honey first thing in the morning, and then he'd take a tablespoon of vinegar, some sort of Alabama tonic. He learned. I don't do it myself, but I ought to. Here's some vinegar. There is courage involved if you want to become truth. There is a broken open place in a lover. Where are those qualities of bravery and sharp compassion in this group? What's the use of old and frozen thought? I want a howling hurt. This is not a treasury where gold is stored. This is for copper. We alchemists look for talent that can heat up and change. Lukewarm won't do. Half-hearted holding back, well enough getting by, not here. Lukewarm won't do. Half-hearted holding back, well enough getting by, not here. Not here. who makes these changes. I shoot an arrow right, it lands left. I ride after a deer and find myself chased by a hog. It happens all the time, doesn't it? I ride after a deer and find myself chased by a hog. I plot to get what I want and end up in prison. I dig pits to trap others and fall in. I should be suspicious of what I want. That's such a subversive poem, isn't it? In a consumer society. Yeah. On Resurrection Day, your body testifies against you. Just let that sink in a little bit. On Resurrection Day, your body testifies against you. Your hand says, I stole money. Your lips, I said meanness. Your feet, I went where I shouldn't. Your genitals, me too. They will make your praying sound hypocritical. So let the body's doings speak openly now, without your saying a word. As a student's walking behind a teacher says, this one knows more clearly than I the way. Let the body's doing, he's beautiful, he honors the wisdom of the body. Let the body's doings speak openly now, without your saying a word. As a student walking behind a teacher says, this one knows more clearly than I the way. Here's the harshest wisdom that we're going to speak. Please, for God's sake, don't applaud this. It scares me, this particular wisdom. When school and mosque and minaret get torn down, then dervishes can begin their community. Not until faithfulness turns to betrayal, and betrayal into trust, can any human being become part of the truth. Not until faithfulness turns to betrayal, and betrayal into trust, can any human being become part of the truth. Here's a poem that has 4 or 5 consecutive metaphors about what it's going to be like when we die. So, spoken by an enlightened being, I guess we should pay attention to. Imagine the time. The particle you are returns where it came from. The family darling comes home. Wine, without being contained in cups, is handed around. A red glint appears in a granite outcrop, and suddenly the whole cliff turns to ruby. At dawn, I was walking along with a monk on his way to the monastery. We do the same work, I told him. We suffer the same. He gave me a bowl, and I saw the soul has this shape. Shams Tabriz, you that teach us, and actual sunlight, help me now, being in the middle of being, partly in myself and partly outside. Imagine the time. The particle you are returns where it came from. The family darling comes home. A red glint appears in a granite outcrop, and suddenly the whole cliff turns to ruby. At dawn, I was walking along with a monk on his way to the monastery. We do the same work, I told him. We suffer the same. He gave me a bowl, and I saw the soul has this shape, the empty begging bowl. Shams Tabriz, you that teach us. That was his teacher. His name means the sun. Shams Tabriz, you that teach us, and actual sunlight, help me now, being in the middle of being, partly in myself and partly outside. This is the next thing. Let's see. I've got the Bach C minor star bond. Oh, good. Thank you. You can hardly do better than to put Rumi with Bach. It's almost enough, isn't it? Some night I'm just going to do Rumi and Bach and never quit. A short sequence of short quatrains of Rumi with the Bach saraband in C minor. Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Don't open the door to the study and begin reading. Take down a musical instrument. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. I am so small. How can this great love be inside me? Look at your eyes. They're small, but they see enormous things. That's called a metaphor. Look at your eyes. They're small, but they see enormous things. This moment, this love comes to rest in me. Many beings in one being. In one wheat grain, 1,000 sheaf stacks. Inside the needle's eye, a turning night of stars. I would love to kiss you. The price of kissing is your life. Now my loving is running toward my life, shouting, "What a bargain. Let's buy it." Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. This is it. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is the Hillstead Sunken Gardens. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. Pale sunlight, pale the wall. Love moves away. The light changes. I need more grace than I thought. In your light, I learn how to love. In your beauty, how to make poems. You dance inside my chest where no one sees you, but sometimes I do. And that sight becomes this art. There's been a lot of talk the last 20, 30 years about the nature of stories and the way they function in human communities. Some people say that stories are to human growth as facts are to science. They are that basic. The Hasidic masters of Eastern Europe said that God created the world because he loves stories. So we're here to be good stories, you know. My teacher, Bawa Muhayyiddin, said that someday we'll sit and watch a movie of our lives with God, and she'll try to make some parts that he'll like. You know? Don't just keep doing the same thing over and over. Yeah. Rumi says that stories are like water that we heat for our baths, that they freshen us and they get us ready to touch the world again. Here is a poem by Robert Penn Warren, a little short poem about the ache in the human psyche for stories. It's the last little bit of his Audubon sequence. Long ago in Kentucky, I, a boy, stood by a dirt road in first dark and heard the great geese hoot northward. I could not see them, there being no moon and the stars sparse. I heard them. I did not know what was happening in my heart. It was the time before the elderberry bloomed, therefore they were going north. The sound was passing northward. Tell me a story. In this century and moment of mania, tell me a story. Make it a story of great distances and starlight. The name of the story will be Time, but you must not mention its name. Tell me a story of deep delight. And here's one of Rumi's stories. Three devout men of different religions fall in together by chance traveling. They stop at a caravanserai where the host brings as a gift a sweet dessert, some taste of God's nearness. This is how people out in the country serve strangers. The Jew and the Christian are full, but the Muslim has been fasting all day. The two say, let's save it for tomorrow. The one, no, let's save self-denial for tomorrow. You want it all for yourself. Divide it into three parts and each can do as he wants. But Muhammad said not to share. That was about dividing yourself between sensuality and soul. You must belong to one or the other. But finally, for some reason, he gives in. I'll do it your way. They refrain from tasting, they sleep, and then wake and dress themselves to begin morning devotions. Christian, Jew, Muslim, shaman, Zoroastrian, stone, ground, mountain, river. Each has a secret way of being with the mystery, unique, and not to be judged. This subject never ends. Three friends in a grand morning mood. Let us tell what dreams we had last night. Whoever has had the deepest dream gets the halva. Agreed. The Jewish man begins the wanderings of his soul. Moses met me on the road. I followed him to Sinai, an opening door, light within light, Mount Sinai, and Moses and I merged in an exploding splendor the unity of the prophets. This is a true dream. Many Jews have such. Then the Christian sighs. Christ took me in his arms to the fourth heaven, a pure, vast region I cannot say. His is also deep, the Muslim. Muhammad came and told me where you two had gone. You wretch, he said, you've been left behind. You may as well get up and eat something. No, laughed the Christian and the Jew. How could I disobey such glory? Would you not do as Moses and Jesus suggest? You're right, they say you're right. Yours is the truest dream, because yours is the truest dream because it had immediate effect in your waking life. What matters is how quickly you do what your soul directs. They always paid attention in Rumi's community to slight shifts in consciousness. And they noticed how the psyche changes a little bit when you're about to hear a joke. Nasruddin, the Middle Eastern trickster figure, takes a tuna fish sandwich to work every day, takes one bite and spits it out. Yuck. His co-worker says, Nasruddin, why don't you have your wife make you some other kind of sandwich? Nasruddin says, my friend, it's not that simple. I'm not married. I make these for myself. Nasruddin knows the importance of getting enough exercise. He says, my mother began walking 5 miles a day when she was 60 years old, and now she's 90, and we have no idea where she is. Nasruddin is out at his country place, sitting by the pond. A man comes up and asks, how deep is your pond, Nasruddin? He thinks a bit and draws a thumb across his collarbone. He says, it comes up to here on my ducks. My son Benjamin says, these are not Nasruddin jokes, Dad. These are Bubba jokes. Yeah. Nasruddin hears the actuarial statistic that says most automobiles accidents happen within a mile of your own house, so he moves. Yeah. Nasruddin is drunk. He comes out of the tavern at 4 a.m., begins walking around town, and a policeman stops and says, Nasruddin, why are you walking aimlessly around town at this hour of the night? And Nasruddin says, sir, if I knew the answer to that question, I would have been home hours ago. Nasruddin buys a prize rooster and takes it home. It begins servicing the hens in his farmyard and then moves on to the ducks and the geese and the dog and the sheep. And Nasruddin comes out and he says, I did not pay such an exorbitant price for you to have you make a chaos of my farm, and besides, if you don't quit this relentless sexual behavior, you're going to kill yourself. The rooster pays no attention. Next day, you see the rooster's dead. The outside buzzard is circling down. He comes out to lecture the corpse one last time. I told you this was... The rooster opens one eye. He says, shh. When you're romancing a buzzard, you have to play it their way. One of Rumi's metaphors for the human psyche is that it's a guest house, a place where emotions enter and compulsions and moods come by, and you just are the emptiness that houses them for a while. This poem is very useful, evidently, to middle school kids. They understand this right away. You know, they're just being flooded with these visitors. So jealousy comes, and you say, "Good to see you," and I thought you were dead, and I haven't seen you in 10 years. Or stage fright comes up, and you say, "You know, it's been kind of dull without you." Ecstatic love comes, my pleasure, you know. All visitors. The sentimental sense of oneness with everything comes up the walk. I knew your mother. I think that's just a Southern joke, I think. A cynical doubt of anything spiritual comes to visit you. You say, "Bro, how about that game last night? Unbelievable." By the way, did Georgia win last night in the World Series? College, they lost to Fresno State. Thank you. They got one more game tonight, I guess. Okay, it's playing right now. Oh, no, this is over. Enough of this mysticism. Okay, so this is the poem. That was just my little riff on Rumi's poem. Here's the poem, The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture still. Treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Okay, just a couple of more poems. In March of 2005, the State Department, in its wisdom, decided that I should go to Afghanistan and be the first speaker there in 25 years to celebrate Rumi is the national poet of Afghanistan, and at the time he'd been the most read poet in the United States for 10 years. And so they wanted to celebrate that cultural sharing of the same poet. And I read this poem in the Ministry of Culture in Kabul. I don't think we have a Ministry of Culture, do we? Where is it? It's in Taos, I think. Yeah. Anyway. And I read this poem, and an argument broke out among the cabinet members. And I said, "What is this?" to my interpreter, and he says, "It's very interesting. They are arguing about the metaphor of drunkenness in this poem and the use of wine in Hafez's poems. You know, this is not an argument that is going to occur in Bush's cabinet, is it? They're not going to suddenly break out passionately arguing about Stevens and Frost. But they were. And then finally the cabinet minister himself jumped up, a little wiry man, and he said something, and everybody said, yes, of course, you know, why not? Yeah. And I said, what he said was this metaphor. He says, inside this one Rumi poem, there are 16 little drunken Hafezes running around. And evidently the extravagance and the spontaneity of the metaphor, it meant that inside Rumi's embrace of ecstatic love, the drunkenness, there is Hafez's tweaking of the imams about the use of wine is just inside that embrace. And so I don't know if it's true or not, but this is the poem that I was reading to them. And they were all saying it in the original out to themselves. I mean, they had it all memorized. Of course, I didn't have the blues going along with it. All day I think about it, then at night I say it. Where did I come from? And what am I supposed to be doing? I have no idea. My soul is from elsewhere, I'm sure of that. And I intend to end up there. This drunkenness began in some other tavern. When I get back around to that place, I'll be completely sober. Meanwhile, I'm like a bird from another continent, sitting in this aviary. The day is coming when I fly off. But who is it now in my ear who hears my voice? Who says words with my mouth? Who looks out with my eyes? What is the soul? I cannot stop asking. If I could taste one sip of an answer, I could break out of this prison for drunks. I didn't come here of my own accord, and I can't leave that way. Whoever brought me here will have to take me home. That's what the drunk always says. I didn't come here of my own accord, and I can't leave that way. Whoever brought me here will have to take me home. Whoever brought me here will have to take me home. This poetry, I never know what I'm going to say. I don't plan it. When I'm outside the saying of it, I get very quiet and rarely speak at all. Shams Tabriz, if you would show your face to me again, I could flee the imposition of this life. This last poem is one that he spoke at the end of an evening where they had done that remembering of God they call zikr, and sat up telling stories and jokes and poems. And the sun is coming up, and he tries to say what their state of awareness is, and he can't. He can only say what it is not. He makes an amazing statement here. He says the state of awareness that we are in now is prior to the existence of the universe and the source of it. I love the Sufis because they know that the great world is the inner world. The macro world is the inner world. The micro world is the 300 billion galaxies that we can use to talk about the inner. Jeez. Take that, you scientists. So it's dawn, it's the 13th century. Sun is coming up. Thank you for the quality of your listening tonight. This we have now is not imagination. This is not grief or joy, not a judging state, or an elation, or a sadness. Those come and go. This is the presence that doesn't. It's dawn, Hussam. Here in the splendor of coral, inside the friend. In the simple truth of what Halaj said. What else could human beings want? When grapes turn to wine, they're wanting this. When the night sky pours by, it's really a crowd of beggars, and they all want some of this. This that we are now. Created the body, cell by cell, like bees building a honeycomb. The universe and the human body grew from this, not this, from the human body and the universe. This we have now is not imagination. This is not grief or joy, not a judging state, or an elation, or a sadness. Those come and go. This is the presence that doesn't. It's dawn, Hussam. What else could human beings want? What else could human beings want? Eugene Friesen.
Coleman Barks, Eugene Friesen, what else could human beings want?
We ask you to help pack out your trash. We ask you to come up to the book books by everybody you've heard today, and some of the people you've heard tonight, and some CDs.